Well, hello, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Coli. Today it's story time, which is always one of my favorite times, and hopefully it is yours too. The story that I'm going to be sharing with you is this story called Carlos's Gift. So, again, a good comprehension strategy to use. When we haven't read a story, it's always good to look at the title and make a prediction. So, what do you think this story is about? If we see the title Carlos's Gift and he's holding a book called Puppies, well, you're right. It probably has to do with a boy by the name of Carlos who wants to get a gift of a puppy, maybe. We'll see if our prediction is right. But before we jump into our story, I thought it would be important to stop and talk a little bit about what is realistic fiction. And you can see that that is what our genre is for the week. Our genre is realistic fiction. So I want you to think about what you've learned from your teacher or teachers about realistic fiction. And let's see if it's the correct understanding. So again, what I like to do is I like to forget about the first part of the word, which is realistic, and focus just on the last part, which is fiction. As you know, fiction means it's a made-up story. It didn't happen in real life. But, or however, the word realistic, if I take off the little suffix on the end of on the word realistic, what do we have? Well, I have the word real, don't I? Let me go ahead and highlight that for you so you can see what I'm talking about here. The word is real. So if we're talking about realistic fiction, that means it's a story that really could take place in real life. But this is just a made-up story, a good made-up story that's believable, that has problems and solutions that could happen to both you and me any day of our life. So that's what realistic fiction means. And those are generally really good stories too. It's not like it's fantasy and it's not even imaginable and it's out of this world kind of storylines. These are real stories that could actually take place. And so anyways, I hope you enjoyed this story called Carlos's Gift. I wanted to share with you a story that I've read before in the past, and I'm giving it one of my hearts. It tugs at my heartstring. It's the story about Shiloh. Have you ever read the story about Shiloh? If you haven't, I really recommend it. I give Shiloh 2 thumbs up. So Shiloh is also considered to be one of the most common realistic fiction books. So if you were wanting to read a story that's realistic fiction, I would definitely recommend this story to you. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing the two stories a little bit also and trying to make a text-to-text connection between the two. What do they have in common? What don't they have in common? But before we do that, let's go ahead right now and develop some background knowledge so that we could try to relate to either one of these stories, but in particular, Carlos's Gift. So I'd like you to think for just a minute, have you ever wanted to have a puppy or a kitty cat or even a bunny or even a hamster for that matter as maybe a birthday present or a Christmas? Well, as you can see, I am raising my hand. I have always been an animal lover, and I'm sure you have too, or you are. Animals bring joy into our lives, and I am always so thankful, absolutely thankful for the animals I've had in my life. And I don't know about you, but for me, I would like to rescue animals. I would like to go and find the missing kitties and try to find homes for them. If I couldn't find a home, I tried to keep the animals against sometimes my parents' wishes. But yeah, you know what can I say? I love animals, and to this day, I continue to love animals. So I relate to Carlos. I relate to him wanting to somehow earn money to pay for a dog. And if you're familiar with the story, so I've just made a kind of a text to self connection. And as I finish reading the story, I'll actually even be able to personalize it just that little bit more to find that link between what happened to Carlos and what's happened to me in my own personal life. Let me go ahead and share with you some of the highlights of the story, Shiloh, so that we can also see if we can make a text-to-text connection between the main characters of this story and the dogs in the story. So in our story, Shiloh, we have a main character by the name of Marty, and he's 11 years of age. And he one day is just walking out in the woods behind his yard, kind of a country lifestyle. There's this little beagle that's following him, and he follows him home. What should Marty do? He has this dog following him. And so Marty decides to keep the dog. And he hides the dog from his parents. And he later finds out that this little puppy belongs to somebody else. And he's a mean owner. His name is Judd Travers. And Judd has a reputation for having a lot of dogs. He likes beagles, and he uses them for hunting purposes. And some of the things that are bad about this character by the name of Judd Travers is that he likes to chain them up in his yard, and he doesn't like to give them that much food. So they're really hungry and they're eager to go hunting for him. So Marty's aware of this individual, and Marty doesn't want to give this poor little puppy back to a mean owner like that. And so he keeps little Shiloh kind of hidden from his parents. Well, I don't want to give you the whole storyline. I want you to read the story yourself. But later on in the story, Marty's parents are aware that he has someone else's dog, and that's not right. That's not being respectful. And so Marty's told he has to take Shiloh back to this Judd Travers. And Marty just pleads with him, please, 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 can I keep this wonderful dog Shiloh? Well, something happens in the story, and Marty sees something, and so he has a little bit of leverage, and Judd is willing to make a bargain or have a contract that they would sign, or a kind of a verbal contract at the beginning of as far as how Marty could earn this dog from Judd. And the agreement was that Marty would have to go work for Judd for 2 weeks. He would work on the weekdays, so that would be Monday through Friday, and he would work for 2 hours a day, and it's $2 an hour. So if we go 2 plus 2, he's going to earn $4 a day. And then if we're a third grader, we should know that 4 times 5, okay, because each of the days is $4. How much money is that a week? 4 times 5 is 20. And he works there for 2 weeks. So 20 plus 20 is $40. So that was the agreement. And so Marty said, okay, that's fair enough. I'll do that for you. But the problem is Judd is a mean old man, and Judd makes poor Marty do all this hard labor. But I'm not going to tell you the end of the story, but hopefully you're seeing there's some similarities maybe between these two stories. And why did I choose this story? So I want you to try to find that connection. Why did I choose Shiloh with Carlos's gift? But now we're ready to talk about Carlos's gift. I hope you're excited about this story, because I sure am. Now, I'm not actually going to read this story to you, but I like to do kind of just a retell. But before we do that, I do want to make you aware of sometimes our teachers, or sometimes when we take tests, where we are told that we're supposed to provide text evidence. So they give you a text-dependent question and say, I'd like you to find some text evidence, where you actually say the page number, and if you want to, you can quote the actual text, and that supports your answer. And so this would be a typical, a graphic organizer that one might use for this purpose. And so the question today, that is, as I share with you the story of Carlos's gifts, you're going to be thinking how you might be able to answer the question, how does Carlos use his wealth? And then you're going to be answering these questions here. So the question would be, how did Carlos use his wealth? You're going to come up with an answer just from reading or from listening to me tell you the story. And then we are going to together come up with some actual text that answers that question. Again, what do we call this? This is when you're given a text-dependent question and your teacher would like you to actually provide text evidence. So this is a great comprehension strategy to use in answering questions. Okay, here's our story. So as you know, our main character is Carlos, and he lives kind of in a big city. It's his birthday, and all he dreams about, puppies, puppies and puppies, more puppies. He didn't care if they were spotted or frisky ones, little ones, or big ones. All he wanted was a puppy. And his parents, of course, are aware of this. And so as a birthday present, he gets kind of a rectangular box. He opens it up, and what do you think it is? Well, it's a book on how to take care of puppies. So his parents wanted to make sure that he was very well informed on how to be a good owner of a dog, which is a great thing. Maybe your parents have done that to you too. So the next thing, he was supposed to learn how to care for these animals. And then he found in this book the kind of puppy that he really wanted. What kind of a puppy do you think it was? Well, his dream puppy was a bulldog. How many of you like bulldogs too? I've never had one, so I really don't know what a bulldog is like. But that was supposedly his dream puppy dog. And that's all he wanted. I got to get me my little dream puppy dog. And he knew they were pretty expensive. So his parents had a suggestion. And he says, well, just go get a job in the neighborhood and start earning some money. And so he decided to do that. After about 2 weeks, Carlos had saved, it looks like $26. To him, it seemed like a treasure. Even if maybe you think 26 isn't that much, but to someone his age working hard, $26 is a lot of money. And so as he and his father were walking, his father noticed a little sign hanging up on the side of a wall. And it said that the shelter takes care of abandoned pets. And Papa said, Carlos, you can learn a lot by working there. Let's visit. So they went to the shelter, and there was an individual by the name of Miss Jones. And Miss Jones was the manager of that shelter, of that animal shelter. And really, Carlos wanted a job there. But when they asked Miss Jones about him working there, she said, we only take volunteers who work for free. It's not an option. He's not going to earn money that way, is he? And then she said, all of our money is devoted to helping animals. And his dad said to him, you know what, you'll learn a lot about dogs. And so again, this is more knowledge, just getting in that daily practice with something makes you really good at it and really makes you find out, do I really like animals or not? Not everybody's an animal lover. And so anyways, Carlos, his shoulders drooped a little bit because he really wanted to earn that money for that dream dog, which was a bulldog. But he thought, how am I ever going to accumulate enough money for my puppy? But anyways, he said, hey, you know what? It's probably a good idea. I'll go for it. I'll try it. So every Saturday he went to the shelter and he worked really hard. He had to sweep up the leaves and the twigs that had blown into the area where the puppies played. And he noticed one little puppy in particular. What do you think the name of this puppy is? Well, the puppy's name is Pepper. And this little dog had a funny curly tail, and it had so much energy. As Carlos was sweeping all the leaves into a pile, guess what little Pepper would do? Pepper would run and he'd jump into it and leaves would go flying, and both the puppy was so excited and happy, and little Carlos wasn't angry. He just kind of chuckled and laughed too. The puppy really made him, I guess it's not even a puppy. Pepper wasn't an adult-sized dog, but was the size of a puppy and had the energy of a puppy. So yes, Carlos felt like Pepper was a puppy. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. So anyways, after weeks and weeks of volunteering at the shelter, little Carlos fell in love. You can see little Carlos fell in love with Pepper, and Pepper fell in love with Carlos. And so Carlos went up to Miss Jones and says, can I buy Pepper? And he knew he had $26. And Miss Jones says, you know what? You can't buy her, but you can adopt her. So Pepper was actually a girl puppy. And then Carlos found out that Pepper, it would cost $15 as an adoption fee. So he wouldn't be purchasing the little puppy, but actually adopting the puppy for $15. And then his parents would have to sign a form saying that they would be good homeowners, they would be good puppy owners. And that was the most important thing, is if they would provide little Pepper with a good home. And so parents said yes. Carlos is very well trained at taking care of dogs. And what happened next? Well, this is the end of our story here. Carlos was so thrilled that he ran all the way to the shelter to get Pepper. So after they had the talk and they decided that that would be a good fit, that Carlos would be able to have little Pepper. He ran all the way there. Well, this is what's interesting. So again, we wanted to find out how Carlos used his wealth. Here's the answer. Carlos used part of his hard-earned wealth. And again, what is wealth? Wealth is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? What is $1 million to one person could be really $100 to another, depending on how much money you own. The value is different, isn't it? So little Carlos, that $26 was like $1 million to him when you have to work so hard at such a young age, and the money doesn't come as easily, does it? So that was his wealth. That truly was wealth to little Carlos. And he was able to use the wealth to pay for the fee. What's interesting, though, is what would be the leftover? If he had 26, so do the math. So if you had 26, take away 15, how much money did he have left over? Did you say $11? You're right. Well, guess what Carlos did with that $11? Do you think he went out and maybe he bought himself a toy, or maybe a milkshake, or maybe saved it for a rainy day? Well, guess what he did with that money? He donated it. He donated it back to the shelter to help support other dogs that were living there. And at the end of the story here, it says, I thought I wanted a bulldog puppy, but I got Pepper instead. And Pepper barked with joy. What a great ending to a wonderful story. I love this story because it teaches me and you that hard work always pays off. And sometimes what we dream about isn't necessarily what we truly want in the end as we experience life. Sometimes it's interesting how what we want and maybe our needs change based off of our life experiences. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed this story. And one of the things I wanted to share with you too is an important thought that I heard someone say before. And that is, think about this for a minute. Is it important to be a go-getter or a go-giver? In this case, Carlos was a go-getter, but in the end, he became a go-giver. And truly in life, as we experience life at its fullest, it's great to be a go-getter and accomplish your dreams, but it's even better to be a go-giver. Think about that for a minute. I hope you have a great day today, and I would encourage you and challenge you to set a goal for yourself to find a way to be a go-giver. I guarantee it'll make you have a great day. Until next time, boys and girls, bye-bye.